So genre starts somehow, right? Somebody's got to copy somebody else. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And that's not really what I care about. What I care about is how utterly shameless it is. And that's not a value judgment. There's just zero shame in these actions. You'll see exactly what I mean. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 20 shameless copycat games nobody asked for. Starting off with number 20, it's Light of Moiterum. I don't know if that's how to say it, but Tencent announced the game. If you check out the trailer, you'll notice some things look pretty familiar. A destroyed world rebuilt by technology, populated with tribal humans and some very conspicuously similar to Horizon Zero Dawn style robot animals. Now, I'm not accusing anybody in this video of plagiarism or any crap like that. It's annoying and frankly just turns into drama too fast. But you gotta give a little bit of a side eye to some of this stuff. The first few minutes of the trailer could have come right out of Horizon. The giveaway is you have those super focused, proved faces rather than the, well, I guess if you go back to the original Horizon trailers, the potato faces, but the new faces are much better, a little more stylized, a little more thought put into them. And while you might argue focus groups approve of the generic faces more than other faces, it doesn't matter. It's not true. Don't ever believe anything you hear about focus groups. Just they're BS. Anyway, once you get past the first few minutes, what this game actually is becomes a lot more clear. It's a crafting survival game that's not really anything like Horizon. The combat sure isn't anyway. More like Bargain Bin Monster Hunter. But the basic premise and a lot of it is plucked wholesale from Horizon. Unlike pretty much everything else on this list, though, the final product of this could still be decent. Like, there's actually some potential here. But man, those robot designs, they are shameless. It's not like Pal World where Pokemon is basically a genre unto itself now. There's one game with robot dinosaurs and animals that look like this, and it's called Horizon. Light of Moiterum is going to end up needing some serious juice to get past the copycat accusations. Basically would have to be the next Genshin Impact, and good luck with that one. And number 19 is Rubber Hose Rampage. I am cranky. It's nice when we come up with these types of lists when I am in a cranky mood. So, hey, remember when the trademark on Steamboat Willie finally lapsed? Yeah, everybody and their mother tried to crank out some cheap crap to cash in. This is that. It's one of those. But instead of making a no-budget horror movie, okay, they ripped off Cuphead. Only instead of the beautiful, intricate animation of that game, or indeed the groundbreaking animation of Steamboat Willie, they traced a bunch of public domain cartoons and called it a day. Maybe the crap flies on new grounds, but if you're charging money, it's not going to be compared favorably to the thing that it's trying to emulate. I don't know. Like, there's certain UI elements that are almost the same as Cuphead as well, so they're not just cribbing from, public domain old art, but also not public domain new art. Now, I don't think I'd really care so much if the game was really good, but it's not. It's janky, it's awkward, a lot of the boss patterns are nearly impossible to avoid. The whole thing's just slapped together. Clearly, very quickly. Allegedly, there was some suspicious stuff on the back end, too. Now, I'm just saying what I heard. I don't know. But apparently, this was secretly a crypto miner. I just don't know. Who cares?
Next, over number 18.
The Last Hope Dead Zone Survival. There's copycats that are trying to make a legitimately good game and fail. You'll tend to see me giving those a little more grace than what this is. The entire goal is to make a game that looks enough like something else on the store page that some gullible fool is going to pay $1 for it. That's The Last Hope. It's trying to trick you into thinking it's The Last of Us by putting not Joel and not Ellie on the cover with a similar pose. This game does not even go for the baseline of quality that's necessary to make a narrative action game. It actually doesn't shamelessly copy Last of Us in terms of gameplay, but in the iconography and marketing of the game, that's what they did, and that's really all they needed, at least until everyone noticed and the game got pulled from the site. At number 17 is Hyperfront. The mobile game space is rife with copycats and ripoffs, obviously. And, so is every other digital storefront. But the mobile game mockbusters has some serious money behind them. After Riot Games launched Valorant Mobile, it wasn't long after that NetEase put out their own shooter that was pretty close, called Hyperfront. While many of the games on this list are able to do what they do without any pushback, that didn't happen here. Riot Games sued NetEase over the game, claiming the big swaths of the experience were straight up cloned from their game. And there actually might have been some merit to those claims because the game went offline. On YouTube, you can find multiple videos comparing the two games. And, it's not lifting assets or actually stealing stuff, but it's also clearly a copycat. They did retool the game pretty significantly and put it back online, though. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but it is available to play. I don't know anything about it, so that means it's maybe the third most popular game in the world or something. I don't know. I'm old. And number 16 is Road Rage. You ever play those Road Rash games? Yeah, they were awesome. This is not that. It looks and sounds similar enough to try to trick you into buying this by mistake, but this is garbage. The presentation it's atrocious. Not my stuttering, but the presentation. I mean, the stuttering might be a little atrocious too, but whatever. The driving controls super stiff, very floaty. There's no weight to the car combat at all. Missions feel basically randomly generated, although I don't think they are. The plot also feels randomly generated. I definitely don't have any problems with AI, but I know what AI slop is, and I would call it that, but it came out before AI slop was a thing. It's just your average, absolutely terrible shovelware garbage. It was trying to ride the coattails of the successful Road Redemption Kickstarter, the proper successor to Road Rash, and something that ended up being way better overall. And number 15 is Paint Man Go. You'll never guess what this one's ripping off. It features little kids in 4v4 battles that spray paint at each other. What could that possibly be? Yeah, it's Splatoon, and it's blatantly trying to be Splatoon. You might have thought Foam Stars was Shameless. I thought it was a cool idea, not necessarily great execution. But this game has nearly identical mechanics to Splatoon. It's just crappier in every possible way. The sad part is that it used to be worse. Before Paint Man Go, there was a Sepia Go, which was even more of a Splatoon clone. The character designs used to be practically the same. They transformed into squids. It was just Splatoon, but way, way, way worse. And number 14 is The Culling 2. The story of The Culling 2 is a cautionary tale for any would-be copycat. The original The Culling was actually fairly popular for its time, one of the earliest multiplayer survival games, but with a focus on melee combat that did make it pretty unique among its competition. That game was doing pretty well, at least for a while, and then the two-headed monster of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Fortnite Battle Royale dropped within the span of a year, and The Culling lost a significant chunk of its original player base. They needed to be competitive, but they went about it in the worst way possible. They rushed out a very clearly incomplete sequel that was nothing like the first game, but a lot like Fortnite and Battlegrounds. The telltale signs there, the third person similar to Fortnite, the systems and UI come straight out of Battlegrounds. All that, and how many people did they get on day one? Well, the Steam charts on the game topped off at about 249 players. Yeah, that's how little anybody cared about this. Like, that would be impressive if it was a game I personally launched. Like, they had something with the first Culling game, but instead of building on that to make it further and more unique, they threw it all away, and this game was pulled from sale after just 8 days. And number 13 is Pretend. There are countless Among Us ripoffs and copycats out there, but few got as blatant as Pretend, a game that, in every way, is just Among Us. However, instead of space, it's in an office. Plays almost exactly the same, or perhaps exactly the same. Maybe it's not almost. Maybe it just is. I don't know. The game got pulled from Steam, so I don't really know. I'm just bashing it based on their official trailer. Even the death animations are practically the same, with a little cartoon bone sticking out of the dead guy and everything. That's how crazy similar it all is. It was also doing some suspicious stuff behind the scenes that led people to believe they were running a crypto miner in the background. I don't know if that's actually the case. It's never been fully confirmed, but there's some hinky stuff going on. And hey, I'll tell you, I don't really care if a game is a copycat, if it's good and doesn't suspiciously run extra stuff on your computer. Like I said with number 20, it could still be good. Pal World you could easily call a blatant ripoff. It did come up with some of its own stuff, but that doesn't mean it's not Pokemon with guns. That is very much a clone of something. It's just good. It's the difference between that and, something that sucks. And number 12 is Area F2. There aren't a lot of multiplayer shooters like Rainbow Six Siege, so any kind of copycat kind of stands out. And Area F2 is that. It's not even trying to disguise itself. The UI menu, it's identical. The entire gameplay setup and phases. You got the prep phase, you got the map on the building, the traps and the door blockers, you got the breaching equipment. It's all the same as Rainbow Six Siege. So no surprise here, Ubisoft had the game pulled from mobile stores. Eventually it did come back, heavily retooled, so there was a bit of wiggle room for doubt with the alleged stealing, but that's just how these things go. Ripoffs are basically like cockroaches. You can step on them. You think they're dead, but they don't die, at least in the mobile market. And number 11 is Doodly Doobie Star. I guess it's kind of ambitious. Usually these older rip-off games try to copy something easy, but this game from Chinese theme park owners Fanta Wild is trying to be the next Super Mario Galaxy. And, Sonic Lost World borrows a lot from Super Mario Galaxy. It's suspiciously similar to it. But if you thought that was a rip-off, look at this. I mean, it's the same thing, only it's, significantly worse in terms of graphics and also controls. It uses keyboard controls, which is bad. Along with the perception of it being a copycat, there is some actual literal asset lifting here. At least a lot of these sound effects sure sound familiar. For some reason, there's a bunch of Klonoa sounds in here. An arrow from Dance Dance Revolution and the Jeopardy theme, too. Sure, why not? And number 10 is I Am Hero AFK Tactical Team Fight. League of Legends is a popular game to rip off, and while Dota likes are all over the place, some of them just go a little too far. One particular game that managed to draw the ire of Riot Games is this awkwardly named I Am Hero AFK Tactical Team Fight, which literally, let's say, borrows elements from League of Legends. The character designs aren't blatantly the same, but they're very, very similar. When you look at the names and especially the descriptions, which were sometimes nearly word for word the same, you can see where Riot was coming from with the lawsuit. And number 9 is Magic Rush Heroes. When I said the League was popular to copy, it was not kidding. Back in 2017, Riot filed lawsuits against not one, not two, but 3 different games from the same developer, which they believed were infringing on their property, which, as you know, is the worst crime in the world. Nothing more sacred than property. The games were Magic Rush Heroes in 2015, Mobile Legends 5v5 MOBA, and Mobile Legends Big Bang, all of which they thought were doing a little slight stealing, between friends. Magic Rush isn't obviously League. It's a totally different and terrible kind of mobile game, but some of these character designs are pretty suspiciously familiar. That's the general thing you'll see repeated. It's bizarre that these games can clearly come up with their own art and designs. So the real reason they use these characters is kind of trying to trick people into thinking it's a League adjacent game or something. I don't know. Maybe they just really like the designs. Either way, putting somebody else's copyrighted characters in your games is probably a good way to get sued. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Well, it depends on how much you like being sued. Like I said, none of this stuff really pisses me off. What I dislike is when games suck, but game companies don't care. In fact, I would guess that the better your game is as a ripoff, the more likely they are to sue you. And number 8 is Warcraft 2000. There's a lot of people who want a proper Warcraft sequel, but I'm not sure Space Aliens was what everyone wanted, at least back in the late 90s. Now, throw in alien saucers flying around. It's no more ridiculous than anything that what's happened in WoW in the past, I don't know, decade or more, but let's not get off topic. So Warcraft 2000, subtitled Nuclear Epidemic, that was a real thing. It was made by GSC Game World. Yes, the guys behind Stalker and Stalker 2, they made a Warcraft 2 copycat that literally used sprites from Warcraft 2, but told an original story about space aliens making the orcs and humans fight. They even made an amazing new CGI intro. It's absolutely insane this thing exists, and because they never actually sold the game, it's still out there. You can play it now. Even though it's obviously copying Warcraft 2, I mean, it's literally just that game, but zoomed out. There's also some Command and Conquer here, too. But, I mean, you can launch nuclear missiles, so that's cool. That's a thing in a Warcraft game. The Madmen actually did it. They copied 2 of the most popular RTS games, and they got off scot-free. Now, that's living the dream. And number 7 is Glorious Saga. Speaking of WoW, here's another shameless ripoff of Blizzard's IP. This time it's a free-to-play mobile game called Glorious Saga, which does not play like WoW, doesn't look the same at all. I mean, look at it. The Alliance and the Horde, the class models, the iconography, the Stormwind King, it's all right out of WoW, just as a chibi-fied form. The actual game's more of a terrible beat-em-up, but even the backgrounds look directly out of WoW. If Blizzard officially licensed a crappy mobile game version of WoW, it'd look like this, at very least. And number 6 is PokeZoo. Everyone talking about Nintendo suing Palworld developer Pocket Pair is talking about something a lot more complex and interesting than a lot of what we're talking about here. But obviously, that's not the only game Nintendo has ever sued. They also went after a little game called PokeZoo, and I don't know, guys, I think they probably had a case here, at least according to the law, you know, the thing that unfortunately matters. The whole thing is confusing because there's 2 components, a card game that literally throws the word Pokemon around, which maybe isn't a great idea, but there's also a mobile game, and that's completely different. It's more of a generic top-down timer-based mobile game with your little rip-off Pokemon trainer. I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be a zoo or something. It seems like you're mostly putting a lot of meat in a bowl and collecting money. I don't really fully get it. It appears to be a game with lots of vaguely infringing, but at least not directly rip-off Pokemon. The card game is where the real rip-offness is going on. There's sketchy websites selling card packs that probably don't exist, and the mobile game is just an extension of that sleaze. And number 5 is Burnout. Not content with ripping off The Last of Us, the same devs came back to the eShop with an even more shameless Burnout, which is not the cult classic EA racing game franchise, but rather a generically terrible driving game made using Unity and unceremoniously dropped into the eShop. It plays like garbage, it looks hideous, and it's the cheapest possible cash-in for a game series that doesn't really exist anymore, so I don't know why they bothered. Maybe they were hoping people would get confused and think it was Burnout Paradise. I don't know, and I don't care, because it sucks. They probably thought they were really clever calling 2 of the game modes Burnout Paradise and Burnout Legends. You get it? But here's the thing. If you rip off those things inside of the game, it doesn't really do anything. Like, if people realize that you're not the actual Burnout, they'll never even get to those modes. And number 4 is Unpacking Master. Doesn't matter how big or small a game is, if some unscrupulous individuals think they can make a quick buck, they'll rip off literally anything. Remember that Unpacking game, the casual indie about putting things in and out of boxes? Yeah, they ripped that off. From the design to the gameplay to the overall look and feel of the game, it's enough to trick people into download it thinking it's the real deal. Only instead of a chill game about packing, they get bombarded with obnoxious mobile game ads every 5 seconds. As bad as digital game stores go, I mean Steam, the PlayStation Store, the eShop, they all have tons of shovelware crap, but at least there aren't generally ads embedded in them. Say what you want about hidden crypto miners, at least they don't stop your game dead and force you to watch the most annoying thing in existence every 5 seconds. And number 3 is Woodshop. Copycats in regular old indie games are bad, but in the so-called hyper-casual market, blatant stealing is often the name of the game. These games are simple, they can often be made very quickly, which makes them prime targets for copycats. Most of these guys tend to get away with it, but in this case, the creators of Woodshop, a game that's pretty much the same thing as another popular game called Wood Turning, they didn't get away with it. They were sued in French court, they lost, they were forced to pay damages. Wasn't a huge amount of money, it was just 125,000 euro. I mean, that's a lot of money for you and I, but all things considered, game companies don't really target the hundreds of thousands of dollars too often. And number 2 is Meme Run. This thing came out back in 2014 on the Wii U, when having slapdash garbage on a console store was an exciting and novel concept. That's the only reason why Meme Run got the amount of attention that it did. In this day and age, nobody would care, because, 500 meme runs come out on the eShop every day. We're totally saturated with this shit. That doesn't make it any less of a copycat ripoff, though. It's a generic infinite runner loaded with hilarious memes. Most of which come allegedly uncredited and without the permission or involvement of their creators, which, I mean, it is memes. I kind of feel a little weird about people wanting to claim memes, but we do know the guy who invented the troll face image asked to be credited in the game and wasn't. If the game was free, who cares? But when somebody's profiting off another person's work without their involvement, it's dick behavior. Like, should memes be intellectual property in the first place? Not really, but that's kind of an underlying problem, and we live in a situation where everything is intellectual property, so, And finally at number 1, Mole Cart. Now there's copycats and there are games like Mole Cart. It's like cheating on a test. Some people might peek at the answers of the person beside them, but that's not good enough for Mole Cart. They photocopied the answers and scribbled their name on it. No surprise here, but Mole Cart is a ripoff of Mario Kart. But not just any Mario Kart, it's suspiciously similar to Mario Kart Wii. And by suspiciously similar, I mean it is an elaborate hack of Mario Kart Wii. It's essentially the same game with different characters and some altered courses, but in its original form, the game was damn near identical to the game it was copying. The tracks were the same, the power-ups were the same, some things they didn't even bother redoing, like the bob-ombs. They were just still bob-ombs. No surprise here, it got pulled from the eShop. Nintendo is notoriously litigious on anything that even resembles their game, so of course they're going to go hard against something that was allegedly a carbon copy of one of their existing games. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.